On Storytime Audio, we dive into riveting stories that capture the essence of human experiences. Today, we present to you Betrayal and Redemption, the unfolding drama of a cheating wife's deceit, a gripping tale of love, betrayal, and the quest for redemption. David and Michael were once inseparable, sharing a bond forged in childhood and strengthened through life's many trials. But everything changed when David uncovered the devastating truth that his beloved wife, Ashley, had been unfaithful, with none other than his closest friend. This story takes you on an emotional roller coaster, from the initial heartbreak of betrayal to the intense anger and quest for vengeance. How will David cope with this harsh reality? Will his path of retribution bring him peace, or will it lead to further turmoil? Join us as we unravel the dramatic twists and turns of Betrayal and Redemption, the unfolding drama of a cheating wife's deceit, exclusively on Storytime Audio. Remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest captivating stories. Get ready for a journey filled with deep emotions and profound lessons about love, loyalty, and forgiveness. David sat on the hood of his car, staring intently at the house numbered 128. The front door suddenly swung open, and Ashley stepped out, her face going pale the moment she saw him. She couldn't look him in the eye, her gaze darting away as he stood up. Instinctively, Michael, who was behind her, raised his arms defensively. "Don't worry," David reassured them, "you two aren't worth my time." With that, he got back into his car and drove away, reflecting on the long chain of events that had led to this tense meeting. David first met Michael when his family moved in next door to them in a small town in Ohio. They were both 8 years old at the time, and Michael was the only other boy in their neighborhood. Despite the presence of several girls their age, David and Michael quickly formed a close bond. By the end of 4th grade, they were as close as twin brothers, doing everything together from playing sports to joining baseball leagues and soccer teams. They always had each other's backs. If someone was teasing Michael, they were teasing David too, and vice versa. This inseparable friendship continued all the way until high school. David's childhood was filled with fond memories of carefree summers and countless adventures with Michael. Their town, with its quiet streets and friendly neighbors, provided the perfect backdrop for their escapades. They would spend hours exploring the woods behind their houses, building forts, and pretending to be explorers on grand quests. It was a simpler time, before the complications of adulthood began to creep into their lives. As they grew older, their interests began to diverge slightly, but their bond remained strong. Michael was more athletic and competitive, always eager to join a new sports team or take on a new physical challenge. David, on the other hand, was more academically inclined, often spending hours immersed in books or tinkering with his latest science project. Despite these differences, they found common ground in their shared experiences and mutual respect for each other's passions. High school brought with it a new set of challenges and opportunities. It was in 10th grade that David first met Ashley. She was new to the school, having moved from a nearby city, and quickly caught David's eye. Her intelligence and wit were immediately apparent, and they quickly became friends. By their senior year, their friendship had blossomed into a romantic relationship. They were practically inseparable, much like David and Michael had been in their younger years. Michael, meanwhile, had also found someone special. Britney Spears, a lively and outgoing girl, had caught his attention, and the two of them quickly became a couple. The four of them, David, Ashley, Michael, and Britney, often went on double dates, their friendships intertwining in a way that seemed destined to last forever. At the senior prom, David and Ashley shared a special moment in one room while Michael and Britney enjoyed their time together in another. It was a night filled with promises of a bright future and the belief that their bonds would remain unbreakable. However, life had other plans. After graduation, their paths began to diverge. Michael decided to enlist in the Navy instead of going to college, a decision that surprised many but made sense given his adventurous spirit and desire to serve his country. Britney was upset by his departure, feeling a mix of resentment and determination to wait for him to return and find a stable job before joining him. David and Ashley, on the other hand, both went off to college. David attended the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign to study civil engineering, while Ashley enrolled at Northwestern University to study information technology. The two universities were relatively close, allowing them to maintain their relationship despite the demands of their studies. College life was exciting and filled with new experiences, but it also brought challenges that tested their relationship. Several times, Ashley canceled their plans to go on dates with someone she met at Northwestern, keeping it a secret from David. He learned about these cancellations through mutual friends who also attended Northwestern. One evening, David arrived just in time to see Ashley get into a car with another guy and drive away. He followed them to a restaurant in Chicago, waiting 10 minutes for them to sit down before going inside. To his horror, he found them sitting in a booth at the back, not opposite each other, but close, with the guy's arm around Ashley. She seemed pleased and showed no signs of discomfort or attempts to create distance between them. Fortunately, there was an empty booth at the opposite end of the hall where David could sit without attracting Ashley's attention. It was only when the waitress asked for his drink order and Ashley heard his voice that she turned to face him. David pretended to be interested in the menu, avoiding direct eye contact, but he saw the surprise in her eyes as she abruptly pulled her hand away from the guy and distanced herself from him. The expression on the guy's face clearly indicated his confusion and silent doubt about her actions. From this look, it was clear that their meeting was not a one-time occurrence, nor the second, nor the third. They had been in a relationship for some time, long enough for him to embrace her calmly and without hesitation. Despite not being privy to their conversation, David couldn't ignore Ashley's anxious glances in his direction. He casually leaned back in his chair, pretending not to notice her concern. After finishing his meal, he left without giving any sign that he had been watching her and drove home. The next day, which was a Friday, David and Ashley had planned a date night consisting of dinner and going to the cinema, but when the time came, David didn't go anywhere. Without any explanations or excuses, he turned off his phone and got comfortable with a fascinating book. On Saturday night, David attended a party at the Delta House and had a great time. He met a stunning brunette named Jessica, and they shared a few dances. She even gave him her phone number and asked him to call her the next day. David was engrossed in preparing for Monday's classes when he was interrupted by the doorbell. Looking through the peephole, he saw that it was Ashley. He opened the door, and she walked past him into the room, demanding to know where he had been on Friday night and why he hadn't answered the phone. After closing the door, David turned to her and asked, "Which question do you want me to answer first?" "Don't delay, Ashley, what's the matter?" Ashley replied, "Okay, I'll answer them in the order I like best. First, let me explain where I've been, mostly at home, but I went to a frat party on Saturday night." "Why didn't you answer the phone?" "It's simple, I didn't pick up the phone because you didn't call, but it was my fault because I turned it off." "By the way, where were you on Friday night?" "I was at home, ordered pizza, and read a great book." "Why didn't you call and say you couldn't come?" "I thought you had plans with your boyfriend." "Wait, which guy?" "You're my boyfriend, David." "Who was that man you were with at the restaurant on Thursday night?" "He's just an acquaintance of mine. We're not in love with each other, sitting so close, leaning against him when he hugs you." "Isn't it romantic? What would you call it then?" "It's not like that, we're just friends. If you don't see anything wrong, why didn't you come over and say hello? Why didn't you invite me to join you and introduce me to your friend? Could you sit down and have a little chat with me? Maybe you didn't do it because you didn't want him to know who I was? Why didn't you come up and talk to me yourself if that bothers you? I wanted to see how you would react." "Why did you want to see my reaction?" "Because I've heard too much about how often you date other guys when I'm not around. I heard that you dated other guys on the nights when you were supposed to go on dates with me but canceled them at the last moment. I wanted to see how you would behave with another guy. I'm not your property, David. We never agreed to be just the two of us. That's what I thought, Ashley. I gave you a ring and a sweater with a letter as a sign that we are together." "A sweater with a letter and a ring? Is that supposed to mean something?" "It's so immature, David. Maybe it was during my school years, but I don't remember you returning these things to me when we graduated from high school. You didn't mention that our relationship ended as soon as we left school. I don't mind if you don't feel obligated, then neither will I. At a recent party, I met a nice girl who gave me her phone number." Ashley's expression turned sour, and she growled, "Great." She quickly left. When she left, David thought that she wasn't making excuses, didn't promise not to repeat her actions anymore, and didn't try to convince him that he was the only one for her. She had gone beyond the thinking of a schoolgirl. Now she saw herself as a mature woman, and something needed to change. It wasn't an easy decision after being together for so long, but it was better to sort out his thoughts now than later. The days passed with homework until, on Thursday, he finally got in touch with Jessica. After a short conversation, they set up a date for Friday evening. David picked her up, they had dinner, and then instead of going to the movies as planned, she offered to attend a party she had heard about. The party was held in an apartment in downtown Chicago, and they arrived around 8 p.m. To David's surprise, as soon as they entered, they immediately found themselves face to face with Ashley and the man she had met the night before. "Oh no," David squealed. "What happened?" Jessica asked. "They are," David replied, gesturing at Ashley and the man. "Do you know them?" "I know her. Do you know Miss Piggy?" "Miss Piggy? That's her nickname? Why is she called that?" "She acts like a real pig. That's why people call her Miss Piggy." "Are you sure she's promiscuous?" "What else can you call a woman who is in a serious relationship but still seeks the attention of other men when her partner is not around?" "Are you absolutely sure about this information?" "More precisely, as far as her reputation is concerned. I can't say for sure myself, but I have heard about it from several people who claim to have communicated with her." "How do you know her?" "I was actually the person she was planning to marry until last Thursday when I caught her with the one she's with now." "Oh my God, will there be fireworks today?" "Unfortunately, no. We broke up on Sunday. Now it's official, I'm free." "What is the probability that I would have heard from you if Thursday had not happened?" "It is negligible, but Thursday happened anyway, and here we are, ready to enjoy life. So let's take advantage of it." Jessica took David's hand and led him across the room to introduce him to the owner. Ashley, who had been frozen in the corner when they appeared, noticed David and looked surprised. Was it because she didn't expect to see him at such a party or because she was caught with a new guy again? Jessica led David to a tall man and a blonde woman. They introduced themselves as Gary, an artist, and his girlfriend. They made small talk for a while before Jessica dragged David out for a drink. The basement had been turned into a recreation room and a dance floor. Jessica and David spent the night dancing and drinking, meeting new people along the way. But every time David caught Ashley's eye, her expression remained unreadable to him. At about 11 p.m., Jessica announced that it was time for her to leave as she had important plans for Saturday. On the way back, Jessica noticed, "Your ex often looked in your direction during the evening." She was shocked to see me there. "I don't think so. She probably didn't like seeing you with someone else. That's how she ended our relationship." "Maybe, but she's not as happy about the breakup as you're suggesting. She may have to get used to the situation." "Does this mean that I can expect to see you more often, or are you planning to date other girls as well?" "Personally, I prefer to focus on one girl. I really enjoyed your company tonight, and I would like to ask you out again. If you agree, you'll be the only girl I'm dating. If I'm not ready to devote myself to one person, just let me know, and I'll find someone else to date. If she refuses, I'll contact you again to see how things are going. If you continue to refuse, I will continue to look for another girl who will be more open to this idea. I appreciate your desire to try. How about tomorrow night?" "That sounds great." After walking Jessica to the door and saying good night, David turned to leave. Jessica asked him to stop. When he turned back, she admitted that she didn't usually kiss on a first date, but this time she decided to make an exception. With that, she kissed him. "See you tomorrow," she said and went home. When David got home, it turned out that his dad was still awake. Laura called. "She's very upset. It's too late to call back. I'll do it in the morning." The next day, David overslept as usual on Saturday morning. When he finally woke up and went to the kitchen for coffee, his mom said, "Laura has already called twice this morning. I'll call her back after the first cup of coffee." "Are you okay?" Mom asked. "We're not together anymore. Does she know about this?" She asked because she has made a decision. At that moment, the phone rang. Mom picked up the phone and said, "It's for you. This is Laura." David picked up the phone, and Laura asked, "Why didn't you call?" I explained it was too late to call when I got home last night, and today I just got out of bed. That's not what I meant. Why didn't you call me last night and ask me out on our usual Friday date? We discussed this last Sunday, Laura. You said that we don't have an exclusive relationship, and you decided to date other guys. I told you that if you were dating others, then I would do the same, and you stormed out of the house. This is not what I wanted, David. You should have understood that. Don't make excuses, Laura. You've already been on a date with that guy the first saw you with last Thursday. I wasn't with him, David. I came to the party alone, and coincidentally, he was there too. Okay, Laura, if you want to believe that, it doesn't change anything for me. I'm starting to hear rumors about you and your actions, for example, how you got the nickname Miss Piggy. I don't know where you're getting your information from, David, but it's not true. Why should I believe that it's not true if I saw you with someone else in a restaurant? I find it hard to believe that you accidentally bumped into him at a party. He was too close to you and hugged you when I came up. You're not interested in an exclusive relationship with me, and I'm not interested in being one of your many options. Could you return the ring and sweater along with the letter? I understand that for a mature person like you, these gestures may seem insignificant, but for me, they are of great importance. See you later, David said and hung up. His mom noticed, your statement sounded convincing. She came to the conclusion that my attention was not enough for her, and as I said before, I have no desire to be just another face in the crowd. David started spending a lot of time with Jessica. Meanwhile, Michael wrote to him about his life every 2 weeks. He graduated from the camp and was now undergoing special training. He joined the Navy Construction Battalion, where he mastered the skills of construction and demolition. Although he didn't ask about Brittany, David also tried not to mention her in his answers. He knew Michael wouldn't want to hear about her life. Less than a week after Michael left, Brittany started dating a guy she met at a party. Just a month later, he left, and she moved in with a man from her job. 3 months later, that relationship ended, and she began living with a man she met when he towed her car to the store. There were rumors that he forced her to participate in questionable activities with his friends. Brittany suddenly disappeared without a trace. They only found out about her whereabouts after David received a letter from Michael, who was trained and served in Norfolk. Upon arrival, he was sent to find Brittany, and she came to him. Michael expressed a desire for David to become his best man but admitted that he did not have time to prepare. Completing this task as soon as possible would allow them to get housing at the base faster. David's heart sank at the thought of the possible betrayal Michael might face, knowing that perhaps another man was already waiting for her as soon as he left. When David was born, his grandparents set up a college tuition fund for him, so he never had to worry about money. He had enough to pay for his tuition and rent an apartment off campus, allowing him to live comfortably. In junior year, Jessica and David decided to live together, which gave him an idea of what family life could be like. He treasured every moment. Over time, he began to think about making their stay permanent. Despite his doubts, Jessica showed no signs of wanting to end their relationship. She didn't show any signs of concern until David suggested she start looking for an engagement ring. It was then that she revealed her plan to return to California after graduating from the university and marry her childhood sweetheart, Nathan, who was currently in England on a Rhodes Scholarship. They both knew about each other's romantic relationships. Nathan knew about David, and David knew about the English woman Nathan was staying with. Realizing that it was impossible for two young, healthy people to refrain from intimacy for a long time, they decided to build an open relationship. It shouldn't affect us in any way, David, Jessica said. David didn't immediately feel the effects, but they definitely affected him. It all came down to the fact that he abruptly moved from a romantic relationship to a platonic friendship. The problem was that he didn't find pleasure in just hanging out with friends. He craved something deeper than just physical intimacy. As a result, David and Jessica gradually drifted apart. Almost 4 months after Jessica ended their romantic relationship, she asked David about his comfort, and he spoke frankly about his feelings. "Forgive me, my love. Sometimes I wish Nathan wasn't so dear to me so I could be the one you want. If it wasn't for Nathan, you'd be the one I need," she said. "Thank you," David replied. "So what should we do now? Shall we flip a coin to decide who stays and who leaves?" "There's no need for that. I always knew this moment would come, and my mom still hasn't found someone to rent my room to. She decided it was better to leave it to me. I will stay in until I turn 40 or until she has grandchildren." "So you stay, and I'm leaving. Are we still going to be friends?" "Always." She hugged him. David returned home for a week. On Friday evening, as he was sitting in his room writing an article that was supposed to be submitted next week, his mother called out to him from downstairs. "David, someone has come to see you." David went downstairs and saw his mom chatting with Ashley. His mom looked at him and went into the kitchen, leaving Ashley and David alone. "Hi, David," she greeted him. "Hi, Ashley," he replied. "How are you?" she asked. So, but I hope that everything will get better, he replied. Ashley called me and told me you were free again, she said. If I hurry up, I can be first in line, Ashley explained. Why do you want to be first in line? Why do you even have to be first in line? If I hadn't made a stupid mistake, none of this would have happened. Jessica would never have appeared in your life. I don't want to stand in line, David. I just want to get back to where my real place is, to where we belong. Raising her left hand, she confessed, I never gave you the ring back. My class ring adorned her left ring finger. Alice Johnson is having a party tonight. Will you take me with you? She showed me the ring at the party, and when I asked her about it, she said, just so everyone knows that I have a right to you, baby. I brought you back, and I want everyone to know about it, she said. The unexpected moment came after the party. During the car ride home, Ashley was silent, looking out the passenger side window. When they arrived at her house, David suggested that they go in search of an apartment together on Saturday. He noted, renting an apartment would be more profitable than living in motels for a long time. Are you suggesting that I move in with you? She asked. That thought definitely crossed my mind. What time is it? About 9 p.m. Great. Ashley and David moved into a two-bedroom apartment halfway between Chicago and Evanston, turning the second bedroom into an office with Ashley's computer desk and David's. About a month after moving in, Michael returned home for a 30-day vacation. He and Brittany spent a lot of time with David and Ashley. Michael and Brittany seemed to get along great, so David's initial doubts about her turned out to be unfounded. When she left 3 weeks after Michael returned to his duties, Brittany unexpectedly arrived. Michael was seconded to Iraq, and Brittany, who was looking forward to his return to the base, did not wait for him. Instead, she stayed with the guy she lived with when she visited Michael in Norfolk for 2 weeks. 3 weeks later, she was spotted with her ex-boyfriend, which again sparked rumors about wild parties she allegedly threw at his apartment. David considered approaching Brittany, but Ashley convinced him not to. She said, it was none of our business, and as far as we understood, Michael and Brittany have an open relationship. I have heard that in the army, it is customary for both spouses to agree to another relationship during a long separation, she explained. But it doesn't look like Michael will agree to that. So what are you planning to do? Should I tell him? He adores her and will not be happy if he is told that she is unfaithful. He may even accuse you of ruining his life. It's better to let Michael handle this himself. Michael returned from Afghanistan just in time to be by David's side as best man at his wedding to Jessica. After that, he and Brittany went to Norfolk for the rest of his service. As soon as he was demobilized, they returned home, and Michael found a job at a construction company driving heavy machinery. Time passed quickly, and Michael and Brittany became regular guests at David and Ashley's house, visiting them at least once every 2 weeks. Their relationship seemed strong, and there were no signs that there were any problems between them. Ashley's theory turned out to be correct when Michael's company won a contract to lay a pipeline in Alaska. Harsh conditions at the construction site forced Michael to leave Brittany at home for the duration of the 4-month project. Suspicions arose when a week later, Brittany was spotted in a motel room with Kevin Melrose, the owner of the company. To make matters worse, Kevin's car was often seen parked in Michael's driveway in the evenings. When the Alaska project ran into complications and was extended for another 2 months, the situation only got more complicated. Ashley and Brittany had an appointment with the same doctor on the day Brittany received the upsetting news that she was 7 weeks pregnant, and her husband Michael had been missing for more than 3 months. Ashley found herself in the doctor's office, learning about this news from 2 nurses who worked at the clinic and had previously studied with them. Knowing that Ashley was close to Brittany, the nurses asked her how she thought Michael would react to the news. Patient confidentiality takes a backseat when it comes to spreading gossip among friends. After thinking about it, Ashley confidently stated, Michael will never know. If my assumptions are correct, Brittany will have an abortion, and Michael won't even be home when it happens. But things didn't go as planned. Someone whom Ashley did not dissuade informed Michael about the situation. Michael hurried home, rented a car, and parked unnoticed on the next street. He waited patiently for Kevin's car to pull up to the entrance and watched them enter the house. After waiting 15 minutes for Kevin and Brittany to get down to business, he entered the house with a digital camera in his hands, ready to capture the lovers in the act. 15 minutes after he started filming, an ambulance arrived and took Kevin to the hospital. The police were ready to arrest Michael until he showed them the photos he had taken. In a series of images taken with a Canon Rebel camera in continuous shooting mode, Kevin could be seen pouncing on Michael. It seemed like he was just trying to take Michael's camera away, but the sequence of events made it clear to Michael that he was being attacked and was acting in self-defense. The police believed Michael's words and left. 20 minutes after they left, Brittany came out onto the porch with her suitcase and closed the door behind her. The divorce went smoothly, as did the lawsuit against Kevin for alienation of affection. Michael filed a lawsuit against Kevin for harassment, claiming that Kevin hired him with the intention of kicking him out of town so he could move in with his wife instead. Instead of entering into an out-of-court settlement and avoiding public attention, Kevin decided to fight the case. This decision was not justified, as it turned out in court that he really maintained a relationship with the employee's wife while he was away. The jury sided with Michael and awarded him $1.5 million. After deducting legal fees and taxes, Michael had just over $750,000 left. After he paid off the house, he installed an above-ground swimming pool and bought a new Ford. As soon as the divorce was finalized, Brittany disappeared, and according to rumors, left town. To settle the lawsuit, Kevin had to sell off equipment and property, which led to the loss of his business as customers and potential buyers questioned his reliability. Michael had some money left, and he approached David with the idea of starting his own company and taking over the business that Kevin had lost. David took up design, and Michael took up construction work. Ashley and David thought carefully about their finances, had discussions, and eventually decided to move on. This led to the creation of the D&M Constructor Partnership. They successfully completed this task, gaining many clients who previously worked with Kevin and even surpassing him in many projects. Michael was proud of their success and made sure everyone knew when they surpassed Kevin. Time passed, and the next 5 years went quickly. Michael went on dates but never found someone he wanted to settle down with forever. He spent a lot of time with David and Ashley, and once a week, they usually met with Michael and his girlfriend. Everything was going smoothly. Ashley moved up the career ladder, getting the position of regional manager and being considered a strong candidate for the role of vice president. David felt that the situation couldn't change for the better, but unfortunately, he was right. On a Tuesday afternoon, after finishing a meeting with a potential client, Kevin Melrose came up to David and offered to buy him a drink. David didn't have any personal complaints about Kevin. He thought if a girl like Brittany offered herself to a lonely guy like Kevin, then he couldn't be blamed for accepting the gift. David never believed the story that Kevin sent Michael out of town for Brittany. He always knew that Brittany was promiscuous, so he assumed she probably came to Kevin's office to collect Michael's salary and let Kevin know that she was lonely because of Michael's absence. Anyway, his problems were with Michael, not David, so David accepted his offer to buy him a drink. As soon as Kevin sat down, he asked, "Maybe you should think about selling it." "Why would I even think about it? Let Michael be my partner." "Are you kidding?" "Not really. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but just take a look at this." Kevin opened his briefcase, took out a folder, and handed it to David. David took it, opened it, and was shocked. The first thing he found was a photo of Ashley and Michael walking hand in hand to a motel room. Scrolling through the rest of the photos, David saw numerous shots of the couple entering and leaving the room, as well as intimate moments they shared with each other. Glancing at Kevin, he confided sheepishly, "I'm really sorry. I was following him to gather information and get revenge. When the private investigator handed me these photos, I had no idea it was your wife. I realized that she belongs to someone else only by the ring on her finger. I hired a private investigator to uncover her identity and gather information for my revenge." "Why? You were the one who was guilty. You sent him on a business trip on purpose." "No, not on purpose. Yes, I had an affair with his wife, but I never ordered him to leave town to be with her. She came into my office, closed the door, and began to undress. She looked at me for a long time and said, 'You sent Michael away, so now you have to take care of me until he gets back.' Since I'm not in a relationship, should I have turned down Brittany's offers?" In my opinion, the whole situation can be traced back to Michael's actions. It is well known that Brittany had a depraved reputation since her school days. Michael should have known about this but did nothing to solve the problem. Now I had to deal with the consequences of his negligence, especially in connection with the trial. I am determined to get justice and fix everything. I'm sorry you're in the middle of all this, David. Do you know how long this has been happening to them? According to the findings of a private investigator, at least a year, maybe more. I can't believe it's been going on for so long, and I didn't know about it. If she never gave any reason for suspicion, how could you find out about it? So what's the reason for wanting to buy out my share? What do you hope to gain by becoming Michael's partner? Think about this. As an equal partner, my opinion has no less weight. If he suggests doing A, I can speak for B. My point of view will always be the opposite of his. In addition, I will understand our pricing strategies and make sure that our prices are higher than those of competitors. I will financially ruin the company, as a result of which Michael will suffer losses. I have carefully assessed the situation, and if the business collapses, we will be able to sell the assets, and I will return most of my investments. I won't make a profit, except for the money I earn at another company by undercharging for the job Michael is fighting for. On the other hand, I won't incur significant losses either. What if Michael decides to make your life miserable until you give up and sell your share to him or someone else? The time he caught me with his wife, my first instinct was to grab the camera from him. He managed to take 3 good pictures before I realized that I had to focus on protecting myself, not the camera. If he tries to do it again, I won't let him off that easy. I'm sure I can handle him if I had to. So what are you going to do? Maybe, but I want to do my own investigation before moving on. After discussing a possible deal, David told Kevin the specific amount that he had in mind. Kevin said it was feasible and asked David to contact him if he decided to make a deal. When David left the meeting, he was overcome by calmness and confusion. How could Ashley and Michael have carried out this plan for almost a year without his knowledge? There were no signs that Ashley was unhappy with him, no diminution of affection, no signs that their relationship was less than ideal, at least from his point of view. He didn't know what went wrong. Detective Kevin's report and photographs seemed legitimate, but David was plagued by doubts. The photos could have been faked, and Kevin could have ulterior motives. To make sure of this before taking any action, David decided to conduct further investigation. Back at the office, he contacted a friend who worked in an insurance agency and asked him to recommend reliable investigators in suspicious cases. After receiving this information, David called and made an appointment. 13 days later, after conducting a thorough investigation, David finally felt confident in the truth. It turned out that on Wednesdays, when Michael was supposed to be at the construction site, he met with Ashley at the Comfort Inn in Melrose. David wondered how she managed to find time off from work for meetings. As for David, he just needed to decide on his next actions. He already had a clear idea of what he wanted, but he needed to develop a strategy for how to achieve it. After a 2-hour consultation with a lawyer, David had a list of options and limitations, as well as a list of tasks that needed to be solved. Since their breakup was amicable, everything would be divided equally, but David was worried that Ashley would receive a portion of the profits from the sale of his stake in the company. In the end, he reluctantly admitted that the only way out was to cheat. Despite this, she would still receive part of the funds. David made a deal with Kevin, agreeing to officially sell his share in the company for 1/3 of the true purchase price. This amount was transferred to a bank account open only in David's name. The remaining 2/3 were transferred to an offshore account David created. Their agreement stipulated that Kevin would not show up at the office and would not occupy David's desk until the day he presented the necessary documents to Ashley and Michael. David about the divorce, citing adultery, and Michael about the sale of a share. Despite living in a state where there is no right of guilt, David had the opportunity to file a lawsuit for adultery. The outcome of the case would depend on the judge appointed to them and might lead to a more favorable division than the standard 50-50 division of property. But for the claim of adultery to stand up in court, David needed concrete evidence. After reviewing the reports of private detectives, it became clear to Kevin that they constantly visited the same motel every Wednesday. To gather more evidence, David's own detective rented a motel room and bribed the receptionist to put them in this particular room where video surveillance was installed. On Wednesday morning, David called Maria, their secretary, and asked her to tell Michael that he would be absent that morning due to a visit to the dentist. He also asked her to tell Michael that if he felt unwell after the tooth extraction, He might not be able to come in the afternoon. I understand, boss. I suggest you go home and rest, Maria advised. In my experience, tooth extraction is usually painful when the anesthesia wears off. After Ashley left for work, David left the house for a while and returned to find a locksmith who replaced all the locks at 9 a.m. As soon as he was done, David went to the bank and emptied both accounts in the safe. Although the lawyer advised him to take only half, David's mood was devoid of any warmth. He was determined to make life difficult for Ashley. Eventually, she would get her share, but only after she started fighting. In addition, David took money out of the business, which in his opinion rightfully belonged to him, and was ready to reimburse her if necessary. Michael had the opportunity to go to court to get the money back, but he didn't do it while David had it. David's detective called him at 12:10 p.m. and informed him that the couple had arrived and were staying in room 128. David arrived at the scene, spoke briefly with the detective, and then sat on the hood of the car in front of the license plate and waited for the couple to get out. When they got out, there was a brief altercation after which David drove off in his car. As David was driving away, a man got out of another car, approached the couple, and handed them some documents. Ashley was given a temporary restraining order according to which she had to stay 500 feet away from David. To get this order, David had to resort to deception tactics. He fabricated a story that a third party informed him that Michael and Ashley had discussed his insurance and the cost of his business. A decision on whether to make the ban permanent had not yet been made, but it might take several weeks. It was another way to get Ashley into trouble. The main thing was that she was not allowed to enter the house without the presence of a person appointed by the court, and David was not going to make it easier for her by providing new keys to the locks. A short note with a mockery was attached to Michael's documents on the seizure of property. "You're familiar with how these lawsuits work, aren't you?" After leaving the motel, David called Kevin to make sure everything was ready for his first day at work. After parking his car in the long-term parking lot at the airport and hiding his mobile phone in the glove compartment, David boarded a flight to Cabo San Lucas. After a week of scuba diving and relaxing on the beach, David returned home and checked his phone. He found that several voice messages were waiting for him. Most of them were from Ashley, and a few were from Michael. It was amazing to hear him given their history. No matter what, David decided to leave them both behind and focus on moving forward. Although he was kind of interested in listening to their explanation, in the end, he decided to leave the past in the past and move on. He didn't think about the reasons for their betrayal. Knowing that he would not be home for a week, David called his lawyer upon his return. His lawyer offered to contact Ashley, who tried to contact him twice a day to gain access to the house and pick up her things. Just when David was about to ask his lawyer to sort out the situation, he came up with a mischievous idea, another way to make fun of her. David called Ashley and asked about her needs. "I want to pick up my clothes and personal belongings, but I can't get into the house with a court-appointed person because I don't have a key and the court staff forbade me to break down the door," she said. "You have nothing to take because I donated all your stuff to Goodwill. I have no desire to keep reminders of you in the house. There's not a single thing of yours left in the house, not even a hair clip." "David, you had no right to do that. I had every right to do what I did, just as you had the right to betray me. We really need to talk, David. It's not what you think. Let's be honest, Ashley. I saw what was going on with Michael, and it wasn't just innocent fun. I know the truth. Goodbye, Ashley," David said before hanging up. Even though all her things were still in the house, David decided to play with her a little. She would come for her things eventually, but not anytime soon. David always had a good relationship with Maria, their secretary, accountant, chef, and bottle washer, so he called her to see how things were going. The situation is not ideal. It certainly does not affect me personally, but it definitely does not benefit the company. It seems that there are constant conflicts between Kevin and Michael, and disagreements arise over trifles. Michael issues an order, and Kevin refuses to follow it. In response, Michael places an order, and Kevin cancels it as soon as Michael is not in the office. These disagreements are preventing important work from being completed as Michael and Kevin are busy with their differences. I got tired of it to such an extent that last Friday I wrote a letter of resignation, but Kevin offered to double my salary if I stayed, so in the end, I decided not to leave. On Thursday, there was a physical altercation between them, as a result of which Michael suffered a broken nose, but there was no clear winner. "Why did you side with Kevin?" David asked her. He told her the whole situation. She was silent for a moment and then declared, "Now I have another incentive to stay." "Which one is it?" David asked. "I can help Kevin. I never liked Michael. He was constantly flirting with me, even though he knew I was engaged. He even said once that he would fire me if I didn't go on a date with him, and we both knew what he meant. When I asked him what he thought you'd say if he fired me, he didn't say anything." "You should have told me," David said. "Why?" she answered. "It was a personal problem, and I dealt with it. I'm sorry about what happened between you and Ashley, David, but there may be a positive aspect to this situation, at least for me." "What do you mean?" "It means you're single again. How do you feel about being harassed?" "I thought you were engaged." "That was until I discovered that this jerk cheated on me the same way he cheated on you, with Ashley." "When did this happen?" "About 3 weeks ago." "Well, darling, if you're interested, I'll give you preference when I start dating again, but it won't happen soon. I don't want to give Ashley a reason to use me against herself. I'll be patient, but if you ever get lonely and want someone to join you for dinner, think of me." "I appreciate it. Thank you." David's phone rang 16 times that day, 14 calls from Ashley and 2 from Michael. He couldn't imagine what Michael could say that he would like to hear. If Michael called to ask for something, it certainly wasn't about David. David ignored all the calls, returned home, and cooked dinner for himself. He called Kevin to see how his plan was going. "Everything seems to be going well. I strategically positioned myself at your desk when Michael entered the office. When he saw me, he looked puzzled and demanded to know why I was in the office and occupying your desk. I grinned and informed him that I was his new partner. Shock showed on his face as if steam was about to come out of his ears as he studied our agreement. This marked the beginning of our collaboration on a strong note. Michael requested a tanker truck for the Wilkin site because the front loader and other equipment ran out of diesel fuel. I quickly canceled the order after he left the office. When one of the loaders ran out of fuel, Michael called Allied and expressed his displeasure. He was informed that I had canceled the order and offered to get fuel from another source. Michael came up to me and demanded to know why I canceled the order. I explained that Allied was overcharging, and I was looking for the best price, which resulted in a heated exchange between us. "I heard from one bird that you and he had a physical argument. It happened last Thursday. Maybe I was overconfident when I said I could handle him, but I hurt him anyway. Anyway, good luck with your plans." After finishing the conversation, David headed to his makeshift office, turned on his computer, and started working on his resume. He planned to start looking for a job the next day. While he was typing on the keyboard, the doorbell suddenly rang. He opened the door and saw Michael standing on the other side. "We need to talk, David." "No, you don't need to," David snapped. "It's not my fault, David. She seduced me," Michael explained. "I was in a bad mood because of what Brittany had done to me. I wasn't thinking straight, David. I'm sorry, but it's not my fault. I never pursued her. You knew she was my wife. You understood the emotions that could arise as you once did when you found out the truth about Brittany. But you didn't think about how your actions would affect me. Didn't you realize that eventually, I'd find out the truth, just like you did with Brittany? Someone else informed you, and now someone has informed me. In my eyes, you're just a jerk. You should have been my friend, and even if I believed Ashley was paying attention to you, which I don't, you should have been as honest as I was when Brittany was paying attention to me. Even if it's true that she made a move and caught you off guard, it doesn't justify subsequent betrayals. You stabbed me in the back, plain and simple. Why did you deceive me? If I had done what I wanted to do when I found out about this, things might have turned out very differently, but you were not worth risking my freedom. In addition, if Kevin gets involved in the situation, it will lead to prolonged grief that will surpass any physical confrontation. Surprisingly, the anger that I initially felt has dissipated. At that moment, I grabbed him by the shirt, dragged him into the house, closed the door, and poured out all my rage on him. After knocking him unconscious, I carried him out of the house and put him in the car. Despite the possible visit of the police, I felt a sense of satisfaction when I returned to the house. I just needed to say that he attacked me, and I acted in self-defense. I would mention his quarrel with Kevin and that he was offended with me for selling my share of the business to Kevin, and now he's trying to punish me for it. The next day, I submitted 14 job applications and contacted my lawyer to find out how the case was progressing. He informed me that the hearing on the temporary restraining order is scheduled for next Monday, but he has not heard anything from Ashley or her lawyer. I thought about contacting Ashley but eventually decided against it. The longer she waited to hire a lawyer, the longer I could put off talking to her. During the week, I received a lot of responses to the resumes I sent. On Wednesday, I flew to Atlanta for an interview, and on Thursday, I went to Baltimore. Both interviews went well, but I also received interest from a San Diego company. Intrigued by the idea of living in a warm climate, I scheduled an interview for next Tuesday. A hearing on the temporary restraining order was held on Monday, and to the surprise of everyone present, the judge decided not to support it. I was required to allow Ashley access to the house. During the hearing, Ashley, who had her lawyer with her, came up to me and tried to talk. I quickly pulled away and found my lawyer, after which I returned to her side. I made it clear to her that she should not communicate with me until my lawyer showed up. Despite this, Ashley informed me that she would come to the house that evening. "No, you can't come. I have an interview today, and I won't be back until Wednesday. Don't be shy. Come back after 6 p.m. Her lawyer tried to speak, but I interrupted him. "She is not allowed to be in this house unattended. Someone from the court will be there, and you can invite your lawyer there." Unfortunately, it won't work. They won't know what she's doing. If she takes something she's not supposed to, I'll have to fight to get it back. She was not at home for 2 weeks, and she managed to survive. I think another 48 hours won't be too much of an ordeal for her. Her lawyer insisted on waiting for the judge's decision. When the lawyer turned to the court clerk, Ashley told him to forget about it and that she could wait 2 more days. Then she said, "Wait a second, David, we can talk." "I don't think so," and left the building. I thought the interview in San Diego had gone smoothly, and I went home looking forward to hearing some news. At 6 p.m., Ashley arrived with a representative of the law firm. A woman from the courthouse arrived shortly after, and we spent the next 20 minutes chatting over a cup of coffee. She explained that her role is to conduct surveillance for the court, make an inventory of seized items, and create a list of disputed items. I assured her that it was not necessary. Ashley could have anything she wanted. If you really think that, why are you so opposed to her? She betrayed me with a man who has been my closest friend for more than 25 years. I couldn't physically harm her without facing legal consequences, but I needed to find a way to get back at her and make her feel the pain she caused me. It wasn't much, but it was something. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. After letting Ashley and the man who accompanied her from the law office into the house, I went outside to mow the lawn. When I finished work and returned to the house, I noticed that everyone had left except Ashley, who was sitting at the kitchen table drinking tea. Looking up at me, she accused me of lying that I had donated her things to Goodwill. I might not have carried out this plan, but I got satisfaction when you expressed your displeasure that I took such actions without your consent. I was surprised to find that everything in the house belongs to her, and it will take me longer to figure it out than I expected. I took the key ring out of my pocket, pulled out the house key, and handed it to her. "There's no need to move. You can pick up the house on Friday. I'll have all my stuff out by then. Why did you do all this if you were just going to give me the house and leave?" I explained that I was interviewing for an out-of-state job and would leave as soon as I found one. "Why did you get a restraining order and lie about giving my stuff away?" This may seem like a stupid question, but after the way you treated me, I felt I had to take some action. You should be grateful to me that I decided to solve the problem peacefully and not resort to cruelty. What I did doesn't make up for what you did to me. It was the only way to get revenge without breaking the law. I know you declined my request to talk tonight, but I'm still going to try to convince you that our marriage shouldn't be ruined. Let's be honest, Ashley. There's no way we can continue our relationship after what you've done. David, my feelings for you haven't changed. I still love you despite the mistake I made with Michael. I've always felt sympathy for Michael, but it's never been love. I don't care if you have feelings for him. What you did was still infidelity. You need to remember how I reacted to Brittany's actions with Michael to understand my feelings about this situation. I was very upset and planned to meet with him about it, but you convinced me not to do it. It was supposed to let you know how I would feel if you betrayed me. Don't try to justify yourself. They say cheaters are always caught sooner or later. Just like Michael found out about Brittany when someone saw them together and told him, that's how you got caught. Someone saw you and Michael go into the motel room and told me. Is my love for you not important at all? I'm sorry, Ashley, but that's not a valid reason. Your love wasn't enough not to cheat on me. It may seem like nothing to you, but it meant everything to me. How can you call being close to my ex-best friend an accident? He came when you were in Santa Fe, upset about Brittany. He missed her even though he cut her out of his life. We had a drink, and soon he started crying. I hugged him, comforting him, even though I knew it was wrong. It was nice, even though I knew I was wrong. When Michael visited you while you were away, we both understood the reason for his presence. We resumed our physical relationship devoid of any emotional connection. It was just a contact, David, a fleeting thrill in everyday existence. Despite everything that has happened, I have never neglected you, David. I love you deeply, and you know it. I sincerely believe that we can overcome this and not resort to divorce. Ashley, our love has nothing to do with this. I need to end this marriage. I can't go on living with a woman who betrayed my trust. It's a simple fact, Ashley. You betrayed me. If I had stayed, I would have always suspected and expected you to hurt me again. You admitted that you like cheating, so I can't stay with you anymore. You can make any promises, but I can't trust them. You already broke your promise to put me first when we got married. I can't believe anything you say. Michael's version of events is completely different from yours. According to him, it wasn't an accident, but you were playing games with him. I do not know who to trust, but after what happened, none of you are trustworthy in my eyes. Ashley, the truth is we're not a couple anymore. I'm not going to give up, David. I intend to fight for our marriage. Our love will help us get through this difficult time. I understand that you're mad at me, and you have every right to be, but I promise you that I will keep my word, especially after I realize the consequences of the violation. My lawyer suggested that I get a consultation, which I think may be useful. I refuse to let go, David. I love you too much. I want to make it clear that I'm not ready to be with you. It's true that I still have feelings for you, and it's going to take me a while to move on, but I can't imagine that you and I will have a relationship again. Just the thought of being intimate with you brings back painful memories of how you were with my best friend. I cannot accept such betrayal. If you prevent the divorce, I will have no choice but to share the video of your meeting with Michael. All your loved ones will see it, including family, friends, and colleagues. I will even go so far as to create a porn site with your participation. There are many amateur sites where I can upload videos with your full name and address. It will definitely bring a revival to your life. You're lying, David. This video doesn't exist. Really? Wait. David took a copy of the CD out of the briefcase in the closet, returned to the kitchen, and handed it to her. Look at it. After you look at it, decide if you want others to see it. I have some business to settle, so please leave. You can pick up your house on Friday. David spent Thursday and Friday packing up his things and putting them in the storage room. Then he rented a room in the executive suite for a month, hoping to find a job by then. Over the next 2 weeks, he attended interviews in Salt Lake City, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago, and Detroit. Despite the fact that all the interviews were positive, unfortunately, he did not receive any follow-up responses. After sitting down at the negotiating table, he analyzed his finances and realized that he could live without a job for about 6 years. David started exploring different cities and states in search of a lower cost of living that could potentially extend his financial situation to 8 or even 10 years. Ashley signed the divorce papers and sent them back to David's lawyer. David was a little sorry that she did it. He would have loved to scatter her and Michael's CDs all over the house, but a deal is a deal. The agreement provided for a 50-50 division of property, with each party having to pay the legal costs themselves. As the sole plaintiff, David paid the legal fees. Ashley expressed interest in keeping the house for herself, and David's half of the capital exceeded the amount owed to the bank, so he agreed. Although he had to share half of the proceeds from the sale of his stake in the company with Ashley, David foresaw this and agreed. Despite the fact that Ashley criticized the sale price, it did not bother David since most of the proceeds from the sale were safely stored. David recently heard intriguing gossip. Allegedly, as soon as he disappeared from sight, Michael began harassing Ashley to such an extent that she had to file a restraining order against him. Personally, David found it amusing, but he mentally vowed to wait for an official divorce before taking any steps. Finally, David started getting calls from the companies where he was interviewed. A company from San Diego contacted him and asked for a meeting to discuss his return. No sooner had David scheduled it than Kevin called him. "Do you want your company back?" Kevin asked. Confusingly, David asked him why he should return it if he had sold it to him to escape Michael. "Why would I become his partner again? I thought after our last fight," David said. Kevin replied, "I told him if you are so unhappy with me as a partner, I will buy out your share and sell your half to someone else." After thinking for half a minute, David asked, "What price do you want to get for your share?" "I'll sell it for half of what I paid you," Kevin replied. "But the main question is, why should I return it? If you have carried out at least half of your plans to sabotage Michael, then the value of the company has most likely decreased significantly. You may have a surprise waiting for you. We'll meet at the office to discuss further." Wasting no time, David decided to talk to him. As soon as he entered, Maria enthusiastically got up from the table and hugged him. Sticking her head in the office door, she informed Kevin of David's arrival. As Kevin explained, "You already know I bought out your share to annoy Michael, but otherwise, I didn't need it. My priorities have changed. Construction is becoming more and more important to me, and I want to distance myself from the engineering side of things. I was faced with the problem of finding suitable engineers, which made me reconsider my options. It occurred to me to contact you and suggest the idea of creating a company with which I could subcontract engineering work. After Michael sold me a share, I started thinking about selling it to you. I just can't afford to buy back my half and Michael's half. The value of the company has decreased significantly, so you wouldn't have to pay a large amount for it. I've already transferred all the construction work and equipment to my other company, leaving only the engineering aspect. I'm ready to sell you the company for the same amount that I paid Michael, and we can sign a 5-year design contract. In addition, the company still maintains agreements with 15 other enterprises. It seems like a win-win situation. How much money did you offer Michael?" Kevin asked. He named the amount, which turned out to be less than what David had in his foreign account. "But there is one condition," Kevin added. "What is it?" David asked. "I was extremely honest with Maria and told her about this offer. She said that if you agree, she will stay with you and will not transfer to my company. If you accept this offer, she will remain your partner." David made a quick decision and informed Kevin that he agreed to the deal, but on the condition that he wait until his divorce was formalized, which was at least 3 weeks away. Kevin agreed, and they completed the deal. As David was leaving the office, Maria reminded him, "I heard about your agreement. Don't forget that after these 3 weeks, I had to become a priority." David doubted the seriousness of her intentions, but she assured him with a bright smile that she was really serious. As David was pulling away from the curb, the phone rang, and his lawyer was on the line. Michael finally realized the consequences of his actions after Kevin decided to sue him, prompting Michael to offer a settlement agreement. Without hesitation, David instructed his lawyer to accept this offer. Arriving at his executive suite room, David couldn't help but smile at the prospect of starting a new chapter in his life. In just a few weeks, he would embark on a new journey with a new job, a new partner, and some financial security. Instead of worrying about finding a new home and buying furniture, David would be able to focus on the exciting opportunities that lay ahead. Who says the good guys always finish last? In the end, David did not feel sorry for Ashley. He realized that revenge must happen. David posted a video of her and Michael having sex on 10 websites and attached Ashley's name and contact details. This would allow her to become more popular, albeit in a way she would never have wanted. As we conclude, Betrayal and Redemption, the unfolding drama of a cheating wife's deceit, we reflect on the tumultuous journey of David, Ashley, and Michael. What began as a tale of deep friendship and love turned into a saga of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, the search for peace and redemption. David's story reminds us that life's trials can push us to our limits, but they also offer opportunities for growth and self-discovery. His decisions, both in seeking revenge and finding closure, highlight the complex nature of human emotions and the paths we choose to navigate through pain. Ashley and Michael's actions serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of betrayal and deceit. Their choices not only shattered their relationships but also forced them to face the repercussions of their actions. In the end, David's resilience and determination to move forward with his life, despite the immense pain, teaches the value of forgiveness and the importance of letting go. His journey from anguish to acceptance shows that even in our darkest moments, there is hope for a brighter future. Thank you for joining us on Storytime Audio for this intense and emotional story. If you enjoyed this tale, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that delve into the human experience. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Stay tuned for more captivating stories, and remember, every end is just a new beginning. Until next time, take care and keep exploring the world of stories with Storytime Audio.